Welcome to the Senior Basketball Analyst. Today is always an exciting day. Every year when it rolls around, we have the NBA.com GM survey, and the great thing about this is it's a rare window into the particulars of what the executives in the NBA think about the players. And so rather than us having to piece together what they think by trades and free agency and what kind of dollars are being thrown around, this is a case where we get to see who do they think is the best player, who would you start a franchise with, who's the best coach, this sort of thing. So it's always interesting to get a look at this just so we can see what they're thinking and then get a window into why the types of moves that are made get made. So I'm going to walk through this. I haven't read this yet. I'm going to walk through it and we're going to do it off the top. So let's share the screen and here we go. And, enjoy the ads and everything. So anyway, is that the kid that Blake Griffin jumped on top of in dunk contest? I don't know. Anyway, so the first thing, they show you is they show you some highlights, and I'll blow it up a little bit just so you can see it. So 53.6% of GMs pick the Cavs to win the title. I don't find that to be totally outrageous. I would have thought that more people would have had the Spurs. But saying the Cavs are have over half the league thinks the Cavs are the favorites, I can see that. Given that Kevin Love, we're going to assume Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving are going to be healthy this year. 86.2% would start a franchise today with Anthony Davis. That's another one that's not particularly shocking. Anthony Davis is a young kid and obviously a spectacular player already. And, LeBron James, for example, who's the best player in the league, he's 30. So there you have it. Jahlil Okafor edges Karl Anthony Towns as predicted Kia Rookie of the Year. I think that makes sense as well because I think that Jahlil Okafor is going to have more of an opportunity to pile up numbers, and that's really how you become Rookie of the Year. You pile up statistics. That's how you do it. I think he'll have more of a better opportunity to do that than Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns is playing already with a budding star in Wiggins. Jahlil Okafor does not have any impediment to him. If Jahlil Okafor can park on the block and get 25 a game, if he's capable of doing that, he'll be allowed to do it. Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think would even have those kinds of opportunities to do it. Greg Popovich named NBA top coach by 93.1% of GMs. That is as uncontroversial as it gets. And GMs need to take a look at that. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment because I'm going to talk about this topic, for a second here. Greg Popovich, you don't become Greg Popovich by just being a great coach. There's been plenty of not just coaches that can handle the players as well as Greg Popovich, but also be strategically as good as Greg Popovich. There's been plenty of coaches I can name off the top of my head that are peers with Greg Popovich in that regard. Larry Brown, Doug Collins is a great coach. There's plenty of coaches out there. You know who's a coach that never gets talked about? Lionel Hollins. And Lionel Hollins is a prime example of what I'm talking about when I talk about being Greg Popovich isn't about just being a great coach. To be Greg Popovich, you have to be a great coach, but you also have to have an organization that is willing to commit to a long-term plan. And there are two organizations right now that have shown that kind of commitment to a long-term plan. The San Antonio Spurs, obviously, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Those are the only two. Those are the only two organizations that have put a cohesive strategy in place with a coach that they are unequivocally behind. Those are the only two organizations doing that. And that kind of puts Greg Popovich being this his 15th or whatever year coaching the Spurs. I don't even know how many years it's been. I can't remember really anybody else coaching the Spurs. Like, I know some other people did, but he's the guy. And the reason for that is because these other organizations, as soon as a coach gets a foothold and establishes something, they get rid of him. They even did it to Mark Jackson. Now, the Golden State Warriors did enough right things where they still won a title, but Golden State did it. They just you have a coach on this upward trajectory that is getting you making clear progress year after year, developing players, putting in plays that are tailor made just for them, and establishing a defensive identity, and then you get rid of him. That's what happened in Memphis to Lionel Hollins. They just get rid of the guy for no reason. Brooklyn did it with Avery Johnson. Just fired him really for no reason. Just fired him. If you're not going to stay with a coach, if you're not going to hire the right coach and stick with him, you have no chance of building the type of dynastic success that the San Antonio Spurs have built. You have no chance. And see, here's the thing. I'm not saying hitch your wagon to some dummy. I'm not saying take David Blatt or somebody like that doesn't know what he's doing and then just say, nope, David's the coach for the next 10 years. That's not what I'm saying. It's hard. You have to, as a GM, you have to pick the right guy, and then you have to have the fortitude to stay with him, and you have to be able to put the talent around him and set him up for success. You see what I'm saying though here? A lot of this is on the general managers. So it's interesting how they all look at Greg Popovich and see the success and recognize it, but none of them want to do it. So that's just something, a point I wanted to make, and that's just something that kind of jumped out at me when I looked at this. Steph Curry named top player to take a shot with the game on the line. That's as good as anybody. We've seen Steph Curry, makes miracle shots. I mean, we've just seen it over and over again. So if that's a guy you're picking this year to say that's the guy, then I'm fine with that. So let's walk through this. So 2014-2015 Golden State Warriors were statistically the best championship team since Michael Jordan's Bulls, but some inside and outside the league would describe the Warriors as lucky. Here's the thing. I'm really tired of this storyline, and they keep kind of throwing it. And we've seen the quotes from Steph Curry and our guy Draymond Green, and it's one thing for me for the players to play up this kind of underdog thing, because professional athletes use that kind of motivation for themselves all the time. So it's one thing for the players to engage in it, but for the media to continue to push this thing. Saying that the Warriors had an easy path to the title, and saying that they were fortunate that they didn't have a series of injuries like teams always experience on the way to trying to win a title. Saying that, and then just saying teams are saying the Warriors were lucky, is misconstruing what people are saying. And it annoys me when the media does that, because they're implying at this point that the people that have made these statements are acting like the Warriors stink and they're just a bunch of lucky clowns. And that's not at all what anybody was saying. All that I've heard anyone say is that, yeah, they didn't have any injuries, and they kept playing injured teams. And they did. They over and over again, they kept running in these teams that had like injuries to either point guards, or in the case of the Cleveland Cavaliers, injuries to your all-star point guard and your all-star power forward. So it's interesting to me that that this narrative, the media is like pushing this narrative. No team in my experience following the NBA has been as celebrated on the way to a title as Golden State Warriors were. So this notion that they're like now these underdogs that the media is trying to push, it's kind of silly. It's a silly thing to say. Now they say here that the league's decision makers have picked LeBron James to win his 5th MVP award. I would say that's as good a bet as any. predictions, which team will win the NBA Finals. Cleveland 53. I don't know why San Antonio is 25%. That just seems low to me. That just seems low. San Antonio is very, very scary this year. They're very scary because they made this addition of LaMarcus Aldridge. And LaMarcus Aldridge, man, he's second only to Anthony Davis in terms of rank at his position, man. The dude he's a solid defender. He's a great scorer. Gets it done on the low block and in the high post. The fadeaway is devastating. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know about putting them at 25%. That's weird to me. And then Golden State. And then you kind of have Oklahoma City in the bottom there as a throwaway. Oklahoma City is hard to predict because with a new coach, it's almost impossible to predict what a team is going to do. Scott Brooks obviously was incapable of getting the job done. This is a guy that at any given moment was coaching at least 2 MVP candidates and at times 3. And, this guy, he couldn't get it done. So we'll see what Donovan is able to do in his place. Now, rank the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. This is interesting to me just because Cleveland is just Cleveland is 96% of people were like, no, Cleveland's going to win the East. And then 3.4% picked the Bulls. I guess that is the 3.4% that think that there's going to be an injury that's going to lead to that, because the Chicago Bulls are not going to be in title contention. So I don't know why anybody would say they're going to be first. Now, second, they certainly can. So, you have a 65% there as people picking them second, and then, Miami and Atlanta are even. What I'm shocked at GMs not looking at Miami. So I'm going to tell you like this. Miami should scare you. Look, because here's the thing. Here's what I say. I remember when Goran Dragic got his $90 million deal, and there wasn't a peep out of anybody about it. No, that was the right thing to do. Well, if you think that he's that good, then why is Miami? Basically, nobody has them second. The largest percentage of GMs pick them to be fourth. So why is it that why don't more people think that they're title contenders? We know who Chris Bosh is. We know who Dwayne Wade is. These dudes are first ballot Hall of Famers. You add in Luol Deng. It's a diminished Luol Deng, but you add in Luol Deng. They signed Goran Dragic as their to be their long-term solution at point guard. And as we've said multiple times on this show, Hassan Whiteside is a man on a mission. So I don't understand why more GMs don't think that Miami is going to be at least in second, but let alone third. I don't understand that. That's kind of weird to me. As we go down to rank the top 4 teams in the Western Conference, and I'm gonna just blow this up a little bit just so it's more clear. But anyway, 51% pick Golden State to win the West. I'm surprised that's not a little lower. I would have thought more people would pick San Antonio. And the reason I say that is because I think that not only do I think that San Antonio is going to be extremely difficult to deal with the addition of LaMarcus Aldridge, I also think that they're tailor-made to grind a team like Golden State into dust. They're tailor-made for it. They make good decisions defensively. They can bang you inside with either Duncan or LaMarcus Aldridge. They don't have a single player on the team to check either one of those guys. Either one. Their best defender does not do well against true low post bangers. And remember, if you haven't seen it, Go back and watch Draymond Green trying to guard Zach Randolph and what a disaster that was. So if for those of you that think you just don't underestimate Green or whatever, first of all, I like Green a lot more than you do. And secondly, no, man, I've seen him when he's trying to check guys that are real low post, with real low post bangers with actual post moves. I've seen what happens. He does not do well. He commits a lot of fouls and gets scored on a lot. They're not doing any better with Bogut. They're gonna put Bogut on Duncan and then put Green on Aldridge. What are you looking for Festus Ezeli to save the day? I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I'm concerned about Golden State's ability to even compete for a championship this year. I'm concerned about it because I think the things that they had as weaknesses they didn't address. They maintain their strengths, which is great when you're the champion. That doesn't put you out of. I'm not saying they have no chance. I'm just saying they would have given themselves a better chance to repeat. To me, if they address some of the weaknesses, going out there and giving up 28 points to Timofey Mozgov, to me, should set off alarm bells to you. That's what I think. We have in the mix here as well. It's interesting too how the Clippers are getting no respect this time, and neither is Houston. Houston came in second place last year, and Houston added Ty Lawson. Ty Lawson is one of the best point guards in basketball, and Houston's getting zero respect, no respect. 6.9% saying they'll come in second place. 13.8% are saying they're coming in third. I mean, 31% are saying they're coming in fourth. That means that there are multiple, those numbers add up to being there are multiple GMs that think that the Houston Rockets are not going to be a top 4 seed. That's amazing to me. That's amazing to me. With Dwight Howard coming back healthy, with Patrick Beverley coming back healthy, with the addition of Ty Lawson, it's amazing to me that that's what GMs think. And I'm here going to tell you right now, they're all wrong. There's no way Houston falls out of the top 4. You heard it here. And you know what? When they are in top, when the season ends, I'm going to say, I'm going to point to the camera. I'm going to say, roll my footage. And we're going to go back to this. And Houston's going to be, and I'm going to be saying this. I don't know what the GMs are talking about. I do not know what the GMs are talking about when they say that the Houston Rockets are not going to be top 4 seed. Don't know what they're talking about. That, like last year, that was one thing for stupid GMs to sleep on them. They think that Dwight Howard stinks. They don't have any respect for James Harden. Whatever they're thinking, that was one thing last year, but you already saw it. You already now had a chance to see it over the course of a season last year. James Harden is so good, man. He can carry a whole operation by himself. He doesn't really need a whole lot of help for them to get a top seed. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. And he's got a lot of help. He's got a lot of help now. So I don't see that. The Clippers have also made tremendous strides. Look, there was a really nice graphic on NBA TV, and I should have tweeted it. And I didn't tweet it, and I should have. I should have tweeted it, but they were showing that bench. The Clippers have a really nice bench, man. They have a solid bench. They have Lance Stevenson coming off their bench. They have Paul Pierce coming off their bench. They have a real roster now. That's a real solid roster they have now. And I don't understand this Clippers thing either. The Clippers are only going to be better now. They're going to be better. And I don't know if people are thinking that DeAndre Jordan is going to get his money and now he isn't going to play well, or what they're thinking. But I don't get that either. I don't get that more GMs don't think highly of the Clippers coming into this season. The Clippers are a dangerous team. I'm not saying they're going to win the title, but there's no reason to count them out. Who will win the 2015-2016 MVP? Well, I'm going to tell you like this. That's one of those things. Steph Curry could repeat that. And LeBron, and the thing about MVP, and the thing about MVP is, LeBron could get it in any year, right? We know that. It could be Anthony Davis's year, but he could just get ignored again. That could happen. Interesting how high Kevin Durant is. Interesting how high James Harden is. These, I will say this is an exhaustive list of the people who have an opportunity to win the MVP. So I think the GMs largely, I think this is about, I couldn't really be much more in agreement with numbers that are basically arbitrary. I like the line of thinking the GMs used here. If you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player in the NBA, who would it be? Well, that's pretty simple. Anthony Davis. It's like I said, he's younger than Kevin Durant. He's younger than LeBron James. That pretty much tells the story there. Which player forces opposing coaches to make the most adjustments? There is no question who that is. LeBron. There's no question. And I think that they were being nice. I think the GMs are being nice by including Steph Curry and James Harden and Chris Paul in the conversation at all. And I'm actually surprised at the GM's respect here for DeMarcus Cousins. Look, we know that Boogie Cousins is a straight up monster out there. We know the skill set and we know how great a player he is. But the NBA often acts like he's not. So it's interesting to me that the GMs apparently did recognize what kind of monster season he had last year. I believe he was 25 and 12. Those are Patrick Ewing type numbers. Those are numbers that we don't really see in the NBA these days. So it's interesting to see them making that. Even some like 3.4%. That's probably like one GM, I guess. So it's interesting that somebody was willing to make that claim. It's interesting that anybody would. But yeah, like I said, LeBron James is hands down the one. We saw what he did in the playoffs by basically becoming a one-man arbiter of who takes shots and who doesn't for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We saw what LeBron James can do. No other player in the league can do that. Which player is most likely to have a breakout season? And, we get a picture of Andrew Wiggins here. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of we can go back to the rookie of the year, the rookie of the year discussion that we started at the very beginning. It would be very difficult for Karl Anthony Towns to be rookie of the year while Andrew Wiggins is having this breakout season that we all believe he's going to have. Giannis Antetokounmpo, it is extremely difficult to say that. Giannis, there are a lot of people that really believe, and I was watching Milwaukee Bucks practice on NBA TV, and they've just been looking at all the analysis. There are a lot of people looking at Giannis as a guy that's going to be the breakout star. I didn't see it last year. I did not see it. I don't think nearly as highly of Giannis as other people do. And it's mainly because I don't see the skill set. Now, maybe he has developed in the offseason. Like, I may be singing a different tune the first week of the season. So I'm not going to like bury Giannis on here, because the athletic gifts, we see all of those in terms of like the 7'5" wingspan or whatever it is. And we see that he has the quickness and all of these things that are, you know what he looks like? He looks like Durant. He looks like a not good Durant. I don't mean not good, a not as skilled Durant. That's what he looks like. And so you look at that and you say, well, man, he could be Durant, right? But he has to put the other skills together. He has to improve the ball handling. He has to improve the shooting. He has to put all of those skills together. What I do like about him a lot is he does make a strong effort defensively. So he does make a strong effort defensively, and he does have an ability to make a move and then turn a corner and explode straight line to the rim. So with those two things, he can have a long NBA career and be very, very happy. like he has so much talent. All he has to do is those two things. He could be a good player. He could be a starter on a championship team just by doing that because he's so gifted. But when I say breakout and I say like, is he going to go out and be, a 20 a game guy, put a team on his back type of dude? I don't know. I haven't seen that. But again, that doesn't mean he can't do it because for all I know in the offseason, he worked on a whole bunch of new stuff. It's like the way Jimmy Butler came into last season, the only way you would have known he was going to be able to do that is if you were there working with him in the offseason. That's the only way you know. And that may be why GMs are so high on him because they may know what he was doing. Bradley Beal being the next guy. Bradley Beal is like is a favorite around the NBA. A lot of people like Bradley Beal. One of the ways you could tell that Bradley Beal is a favorite around the NBA is because Charles Barkley talks him up all the time. And Charles Barkley never says anything that the establishment doesn't want to hear. He loves and the funny thing is it gets couched in this like he's being controversial thing. I'm like, he's saying exactly what the establishment loves. Like it's like, he did this for a long time until he got old and then switched to Joakim Noah, another league favorite. But remember when Ginobili was his favorite player? I'm like, yeah, that's what the NBA keeps telling me. Ginobili's the greatest thing ever. Like Charles Barkley is the most controversial guy on TV. So Bradley Beal is one of those guys, but Bradley Beal can play. He's a good player. This Jabari Parker at number 3, I'm going to come out. That's going to be another thing I'm going to step out on. I'm going to say roll my footage. I'm going to say roll. I'm going to look in his camera. I'm going to say roll my footage. No breakout season for Jabari Parker. And it's 2 reasons for that. One, the guy is Giannis. They play the same position. They're both threes. They play the same position, same spots on the floor. They don't even play in a way that you would put one of them at the 4. Even if you had them both playing the 4, they would just be getting in each other's way. They play in the same spots. I don't even know why they have these 2 dudes on the same team. That to me is one of the mysteries of what what their front office is thinking. But the other thing is, I saw Jabari in their practices. He's not in shape, man. He's visibly doughy. No, not coming off of an injury. He didn't play. He missed all this time coming off an injury, coming into camp, not in shape. No, that is not a recipe for having a breakout season. I'm not buying it. Not for a second. Not buying it. I would look. Jabari Parker's a hometown kid here. I really feel for him. I especially felt bad for him when I found out about the injury and I was watching it and I was like, oh, I said, oh man, this is terrible. I really want this kid to succeed, but I haven't seen anything that says he's going to have a breakout season. I don't see that. The rest of these are kind of interesting. Anthony Davis is probably too good to break out. He'd have to get 30 a game to have a breakout season. I don't really know. Harrison Barnes, I don't see him having a breakout season just because I don't really see him getting the ball enough. Mike Conley, again, breakout season, what? He gets 25 a game? Like, how is he going to have a breakout season? He's already one of the best players in his position. Andre Drummond's an interesting one. Danilo Gallinari, no, wrong. Rudy Gobert, still can't catch the ball. No, wrong. Tobias Harris is also an interesting one. You may see Tobias Harris with a breakout season. Reggie Jackson is just it's going to be breakout by virtue of the fact that he's getting an opportunity to start full time. So, and the Kawhi Leonard one, already a top player, doesn't make sense. Look out for CJ McCollum as well. CJ McCollum is poised to have a breakout season. That is very true. Shabazz Muhammad, I don't understand that one at all. Victor Oladipo, maybe. Otto Porter, no. Otto Porter, I'm going to talk about Otto Porter. Actually, first, Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, I think, is a future star. I just don't know if it's going to happen next year. I'm not sure about next year, but Marcus Smart is a future star. He does a lot of things that great players that took a couple of years to develop did when they were young. So I like a lot of the things that I see in Marcus Smart's game. Let me get back to Otto Porter. Otto Porter in the Washington, it was the preseason game between Washington and New York, and I was showing you the way that Otto Porter timed his cut to the basket so well and got an and one. Otto Porter is a what you see is what you get player. He's not going to have a breakout season. He's not going to. He's like a dude like Tayshaun Prince or something like that, right? Tayshaun Prince was in his heyday with the Pistons. He was a really good player that is essential for winning your title. It's not like you say, man, we don't need Tayshaun. No, that's not what I'm saying. But there's no breakout. He's already a semi-finished product. I remember when Tayshaun Prince, he was either in his rookie year or he was a rookie. He was a rookie. He hadn't played hardly all year. Larry Brown threw him in the game and then put him at shooting guard, and Aaron McKee was guarding him, and Tayshaun Prince went on the block and tortured him. Aaron McKee, if you remember those old Sixers teams with Allen Iverson, Aaron McKee is a defensive stalwart, good player. Tayshaun Prince took him on the block and just terrorized him. And he was either a rookie or in his second year in the league. Tayshaun Prince basically came into the league with the skill set he was always going to have. That's kind of how Otto Porter is. When I watch Otto Porter, I'm like, I don't think this dude, the only thing that would improve his game is playing more. He would have more numbers. But Otto Porter is the dude he's going to be. And it's not that there's nothing wrong with that. Otto Porter is a nice dude to have on your team. If I was running a GM running the team, I'd want Otto Porter on the roster. I'm just saying he's one of those players to me that it's not really so much high ceiling. You just want him on the team because he's good.